Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Alicia Conlin-Hurd from persuasionexperience.com. She has launched over 450 funnels. She's built funnel and conversion teams from scratch. She's worked for Founder, and she creates high converting funnels. And she's here to talk to us about the funnels you need to create to grow and scale your business and to create an unstoppable machine. So Alicia, glad to be talking to you.
Very excited to be talking to you about the post-click experience today.
Ooh, interesting. So, but off the bat, what is that?
Excellent. I've hooked you in. Look at my marketing skills.
Yes, you're that good.
Basically, a lot of people do focus on traffic or comprehend traffic, right? I've got to get Facebook ads or I've got my email list. But where a lot of the money starts and where a lot of the strategy stops is what happens post-click. What happens once you get that attention? And so when I speak with a lot of people, they kind of connect funnels to Russell Brunson, who's obviously amazing, but then click funnels and then scammy internet marketers, right? And so we work with a lot of really big brands and startups to help them to understand that a funnel isn't optional. You have a funnel whether you want one or not, because it's effectively just every single touch point somebody has with your brand. And that's what we mean by the post-click experience. And that's why we called our company Persuasion Experience instead of Funnel Dude Bro Co or something.
Yeah, and when I hear funnel, or when there's someone gets on the whiteboard, there's a lot of talk about like page to page conversion, and like literally a funnel, like kind of having this big audience and then getting them narrowed down. And these last few years or so, what's been like kind of an aha for me, or kind of got me excited when I wasn't excited before, was the idea that you have like a CRM, you have a contact, and they've gone through these different steps. And then if they participated in this, then that kind of increases the lead score, and you send a postcard here, and you send the email there, and they hit this landing page. And that makes a lot more sense to me. And saying that, well, I have like this top tier of my my customers, and like this lower tier, and if they've done the things to like increase the points, then that kind of narrows down where my focus should be. And so when you talk about like funnels versus the experience, are we thinking similarly, or like what's kind of your philosophy as far as the way you don't like it versus the way you do like it?
So one of the biggest mistakes that I see companies making, I've nearly worked with 500 now, doesn't matter if you're a big $1 billion tech or a mum and pop local store, a lot of people get obsessed with the tech, right? And then they start trying to put all this tech in, or they start trying to figure out the how and the what instead of the why. So the thing that we really focus on with our clients and the people that we work with is remembering that marketing is just inputs and outputs, garbage in, garbage out. And so we actually need to go back and do a lot of that unsexy work, the foundational work, to understand who's the target market, who do we serve, what's going to resonate with them, what messaging will cut through the noise and pull them into the funnel, and how can we create an irresistible golden hippo offer where that if they see it, they would feel stupid if they didn't take it up. And these are the core components of your funnel, because anybody can map out a funnel. I can map out the touch points for any industry ever. It's the thing that goes into your funnel, the strategy that is input into your funnel, that makes the difference. And
so what does that look like when you're focusing on, you said not the why, not the how, not the what, the why. So what does that look like? Because like what comes to mind for me is, if someone is like doing phone calls or doing SMS, I think like, okay, that's something to try. That's like an experiment to like map out and put in the funnel, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't, but that's like a little cog in the machine that might make the machine like 10% better or 10% worse, but then it's more about like the big picture. And then when you see people doing things like they look at the list they've built and the audience they have, and they kind of look for like a lookalike with that, or they play detective and see what's already working as far as a conversion and try to like just replicate that. But like, even me explaining it, it's a whole jumbled mess. So you're here for the simplicity. So when you say focus on the why, like what does that sort of look like for you? What's the thought process?
Yeah, so I would say the whole point of your funnel or your marketing should be to motivate and persuade somebody to take action. And if you don't understand what is that dream outcome that you sell to them, remembering that businesses, we just sell a product or a service. We don't sell a product or a service. We sell entry into a desired after state. And so what a lot of people do is they do that really boring me marketing. Look at us, look at our features, look at how good we are, look at how great I am, instead of getting really viscerally clear on the problem they solve, because the bigger the problem, the more money we get paid, right? And that dream outcome, because we're selling a future state. Anything in marketing or sales is selling a future state. And so when I say the why, I mean, why would somebody buy from you? Like, what makes you different? What makes you better? And how do you solve their problem? So it's understanding in the target market's words, not in your words, not in your own jargon, not what the CEO thinks is the right thing, or especially no I thinks around the boardroom, but really truly understanding in your target market's language, how do they describe the problem they're having, and how do they describe that dream outcome? And then you can position yourself as the vehicle to get there. Because no SMS marketing or email blast, LinkedIn post is going to save you if you cannot enter the conversation happening in the target market's brain. If you're just information vomiting at them, that is not how you start the relationship and not how you start the funnel.
And that's something, it takes a while to kind of get your head wrapped around. And you mentioned Russell earlier, and I do have mixed feelings about Russell, but what's good about what he does is he'll take things from 10 or 20 years ago that have just been like completely forgotten, and then kind of like modernize them. And then you can see him like, and he's not the only one that does it, but they'll play around with the language and with the positioning, and kind of do this sort of the massaging or like the back and forth you're describing, where you're not just saying, here's this term I invented, let me just get it out there. Like they kind of shop the idea around, that they test it out. And so with like your language of the persuasion experience, like how did you come to that? Like, did you try out other ways of like kind of repositioning the funnel speak, or like how did you like personally get to that ending point?
Yeah, so it was a journey, but we knew that we wanted to have proprietary language and proprietary system, because when you do a business, no matter what it is, you want to show that you have the solution, not a solution, right? So this is a little bit of behind the wizard's cape, or whatever they say in Wizard of Oz. So this is like what we were thinking about. We want to have proprietary language, and we want to sell on the system. Like, we don't want to go out there and say, oh, how good are we? Look at how awesome we are. We want to go out there and talk about why this persuasion experience, or what we call PX. So like, if you think of UX, we call it PX. This PX funnel, this is what you need. And lo and behold, we're the only ones that sell it. So that's why like we're always educating on the system. And going back to your point on Russell Brunson and bringing things from other areas or other industries, that's what a lot of people fail to do, right? They get this tunnel vision and they just copy their competitors. And it's prolific in B2B, it's prolific in SaaS, it's prolific probably in every industry. I've worked in hundreds, and they all are just this sea of boringness. And they don't stand out. They're too scared to be polarizing. And so the strategy that you've described there, basically you can call it funnel vision instead of that tunnel vision. And you actually go out and you go to these different industries. And that's what we do with our clients, is we pick and choose, like, oh, actually chiropractors were doing this. We're doing something in our company that we've taken from the chiropractic case study we heard on the Dan Kennedy podcast. And you take all these things and you start to build a competitive moat around your company, because your brand can be ripped off, like what you do can be ripped off, but your funnel, if you build it properly, can never ever be ripped off. It becomes your competitive moat. And that's why Russell Brunson does that. You borrow from other industries.
And that's great. And it's like by doing that, you appear to be like this innovator that has all these really good ideas. And you say no, because you've had the funnel vision in your industry. And I was over here seeing what the chiropractors were doing. I could go over to the dentist, and all the dentists are doing this really tired out thing, and it all looks the same from person to person. But then you plucked this idea from over here. And so you mentioned that you've been in all these industries and you've done all these cool things and you have all these cool stories. So what's an interesting story to kind of hammer this point home? What's an industry you've been in, or like a project you worked on where like you really did something amazing with the funnel?
So to give you an idea of some of the weird and wacky industries I've worked in: porn addiction counselor, male strippers, Brazilian butt lift doctors, and then on the other realm of normal, right? Like your banks, your fintech, SaaS, lead generation is my favorite, and course funnels. So I worked at Founder building like multi-million dollar course funnels. And always my favorite stories are the ones where you change somebody's life. Like I love coming in and working with small businesses because you can literally take that to the next level. So for example, of one, the opposite of that, I worked with Linktree. They're a $1 billion tech unicorn. And they're like, hey, can you come in and beat our controls? And I said, yes, of course. And it's fun to come in and make a $1 billion company more money. And the way that I did that was they weren't positioning their offer correctly. Their messaging and their positioning was off because they were still running with what they started with in 2016. And there was more competitors now in the industry. So they needed a refresh and talking in the target market's language. So what, who cares what's in it for me? That's how I did that. And that's how I do most of them. But the coolest stories are where I've worked with home builders and they're like, hey, it's me and my dad and we're going to start our own home building company. And I see them make their first $2 million off of the back of a landing page that we make because we go out to market with the strongest offer and the strongest messaging that stands out from the noise of the competition.
So, I mean, with all these, and that's amazing. And so with being in all these industries, like with the home builders, with the male strippers, et cetera, like, I mean, how do you organize your time? How do you find time to sleep? And have you ever second guessed yourself about like being known for like one thing or one industry, or like how do you reconcile all that?
Cool. So that sounds like two buckets. One is how to be productive and like work on the highest leverage tasks. And two was becoming known for one thing. So I'll start with the productivity. And so basically when I start every week on a Sunday, I write down all of my tasks and I plan out my calendar in advance. And then I grade all of the tasks that I've given myself. So they're either a $10 task, a $100 task, $1,000, or a $100,000 task. Anything that's below $1,000, I don't work on. I delegate to the team. So if anybody has read 4-Hour Workweek, automate, eliminate, delegate. Anything that I shouldn't be doing, and I am a problem and a task hoarder. So I can resonate. I'm like, oh no, I can do it the best, give it here, or I'll do it, don't worry. So giving that away and working on the high leverage impact. But we also do quarterly and yearly planning, and then we stick to that plan, so if something's not on that list, because I get shiny object syndrome a lot, and so does my co-founder, we have to pull ourselves back and be like, yo, hold up, that is not on our growth plan. And unless the opportunity outweighs the growth plan, we do that, like we don't pursue it. So that's number one in terms of managing my time and getting everything done. And also for the first year, I basically had to work 14-hour days. So I'm not a guru. I burnt myself out really severely in the first year because allegedly you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So I learned that in the first year, but these are what I've learned from my trauma. And in terms of being the authority, we want to step into a circle and own that circle. Who's the underserved niche and how can we serve them the best? And a really big thing that we've been doing in our first year of business is building authority. We want to be the leading expert in what we do. The good thing is there's not many funnel people out there, really. There's Russell Brunson. And then if you think of funnels, there's not really anybody else that comes to mind. So we want to establish ourselves as the number one players for serious brands, right? Like not internet marketers, because that's kind of Russell Brunson's vibe, but for serious brands who want to make more revenue and more money. And you can only pour so much traffic at a landing page that sucks. So hopefully that answered the question.
Well, yeah. And I mean, when you were talking about these huge companies that you've worked for, like, banks in particular, I mean, it drives the point home that internet marketing is really limited, right? When you're dealing with just like these like solopreneurs or like, 10 employees or less. And there's some money in that, but there's not like the big bucks, like you said, like going to Linktree and making $1 billion company perform like 2% better than, or whatever percent it was, better than they were before. Like it seems like there's more of a future there. And it seems like just from a lot of hearing your thought process, there's a great deal of self-awareness, right? When you're talking about like abandoning paths that aren't working, or when you're going through and like kind of figuring out your time management and like is this like $1,000 per hour type of task? And like, I think that it's really easy to not do that, right? And I think that, I mean, most people don't do that, and they're not even aware of the problem that it's killing them, that they could just be a little bit organized and write a few of these things down and be way off way better off than they are instead of just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. And so you do a lot, you've done a lot, you think big, you're organized, you have this work ethic, and it's always interesting to hear about failures, right? About when things were just like catastrophically went bad, but then because you've already gone through it and it's in the past, then you recovered. And then that way it's a funny story. It's not fun in the present, but it's fun when it's a thing in the past. So do you have any like fun failure stories to share with us? Because those are the best kind, right?
Yes, I do. So many. And if anybody has started a business or they're about to start a business or they want to think back to their first year, because that's where I am now. And I'll talk about business and marketing failures. But one big one, and I see this in big companies that I've worked in or work with, is ignoring or forgetting what made you successful. So we were doing these things that were contributing to our success, right? Like we were always writing up our revenue on a whiteboard, like not just looking at it in a spreadsheet, writing it up physically every single week and talking about money and revenue and all of these different things. There's a thing called incremental degradation. And so over time, we started to lose some of these things that when we've done a retro, were actually the plugins to our success. And so that's my long-winded way of saying, like, when you have a success formula, don't stop doing. And sometimes it's boring and unsexy, but there's often things that are like compounding and making you successful and focusing on the right things. We had like a quarter where we just totally lost our path. We just weren't focusing on the things that were making us successful. And in saying that, if you're a marketing agency, another one of my lessons learned over many years is not just bulldozing a client's current marketing, right? And not just being so arrogant to think that only you can do it better. And I've done this more times than I will ever admit, because I've worked on, it's just a hard lesson learned where a client has come in and I can poke all the holes in it, but I haven't spent the time to uncover the 80-20 rule. This client's making money. There's something in there that is working. If I just spent time to sit there and figure that out, all I have to do is amplify that 20% with my extra ingredients that I know are missing, and I will have the winning formula. So that would be my other lesson learned, is to not be dismissive of other people or arrogant of your own abilities, and always try and find what's winning, not just what sucks. So those are some of my lessons learned I've been stewing on recently.
And that's huge. I mean, that's ties back to like the reticular activation system, the reptile brain. It's looking for the negativity, because that's what's kept our ancestors alive for millions of years, of saying the tiger's over there. I need to run away from the tiger. But now we live in more enlightened times when you say, this is what's working, I can't ignore that. Even something as what may seem foundational as just writing the numbers on the whiteboard, even though it seems like tedious, but it kind of gets your muscle memory in there. You have the visual reminder, and you're reminding me of the days and the weeks when I do the Think and Grow Rich thing of like writing your goals at night and then waking up and like rewriting them and then speaking them aloud. It seems silly, it seems stupid, but then when I do that, then I stick more to what I'm doing. I'm happier. The day seems to be half over, and I have like 3 days worth of work done. And then when I let that fall by the wayside, then I might have like 3 or 4 weeks, and I wonder like, what the heck happened? Like, how did I lose my momentum? How did I lose my groove? And then do what you've done and think back and say like, like, was there something really simple that it was not immediately obvious that A led to B, and maybe I need to try and put the secret ingredient back in, and then realize like, oh, okay, so I pulled the Jenga block out from the bottom and it all fell apart. And it's like, well, maybe that little piece was important right in there. And so, man, we've covered all sorts of things, especially mostly just like this entrepreneurial mindset, or like this business owner kind of structure and like strategy, and it kind of is on brand for you, because like you said, we didn't get into the technical details. We weren't saying here's how you click this button and click funnels. You're talking more about the strategy and kind of the more high level like overview tasks. So if someone says, man, this conversation is different than any other funnel conversation I've ever heard of, because it's more about the important things, and someone says, I want to find out more about Persuasion experience and PX and about what this company is all about and how they can work for me and help me make more money, what's the next logical step here? Where's the website, and what's the next action to take?
So if If you would like me to personally tear down your marketing and your funnel and your landing page assets, you can head to our website, persuasionexperience.com, and you just fill in our little multi-step form there and you chat with me. I promise, no sales dude bros. And I'll walk through and I'll talk about this in relation to your business and give you a free PX funnel mapping out. Maybe we'll work together, cool. But at the very least, because I'm good at creating good offers, you will leave more valuable than what you came in, right? You'll understand exactly what to do, and either I'll do it for you or you'll do it yourself. Alternatively, we put a lot of free information out there and just give away our secret sauce, because we know that the more people we can help, the more impact we're going to have. So you can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, all under my name, Alicia Conlin-Hurd, which isn't easy to spell. It's
not easy to spell, but we will spell it since the podcast will say Alicia is Alisha. Last name is Conlin-Hurd. Even though in this day and age, you do the LinkedIn search, the Google search, hopefully it will autocorrect, but it always helps to have it kind of figured out there. And then the website, persuasionexperience.com. And, Alicia, you're in business, you're in marketing, you're in sales. You know that it's important to kind of end on a high note, right? End with something entertaining and impactful that stays with us. So do you have anything like that? Does anything come to mind as far as like advice you wish you had 20 years ago, or like your best, most concise couple of sentences that will like really blow our minds, really motivate us to create the best funnel that we can make? Anything come to mind in that realm?
Yeah, stop doing boring marketing. And the next time you do a marketing campaign, think, how can I make this more outrageous? Do that 10 times and you'll end up with a much, much stronger campaign than the boiled chicken, boring piece of crap you came up with in the boardroom to start with. Trust me, be outrageous, be polarizing, and that's how you'll attract the right people to you.